Okay, I'm running a final test on this VCam. Now, you can see the CPU is running up at 43%. I've got the screen recorder going, Movavi screen recorder going, and I've got the VCam going, and I've got some stuff on the desktop here. But that's pretty good, down to 50% CPU. Okay, so I'm sitting here in Nefertari's tomb. This is Nefertari back here in the dress, and this is the professor of wisdom, Thoth, giving her a lecture on the facts of life or whatever. And these paintings are 3,500 years old. They're perfectly preserved because they're in an underground tomb in the Valley of the Kings, which is a desert, as dry as a bone. They haven't deteriorated in 3,500 years. You can still go over there and look at them. Anyway, they're one of these guys. Now we're going to find out how we found a scientific proof of what the gods are here. And it begins with my discovery that psychometry had discovered E and N, these two psychometric factors called E and N. They were famous, well established by Hans Eysenck, and found to be the most fundamental factors. And I realized that that's a quadrature. It had to come from a quadrature in the brain someplace. So I got into it. I found quadrantenopia. You know, I found out the whole body is modeled after the 8-cell stage in embryology. The whole thing is just an axial quadrature. So I finally figured out that it was a cubic brain with a fornix in the center, which connects all these 8 lobes. And it causes, because there are 13 rotational symmetry axes to a cube, it causes 13 second-order eigenvectors in psychometry research. And they're all personality types. And I proved this for myself by taking a monumental study by Krug and Johns of 20,000 people. They extracted 7 factors. They took the 7x7 factor matrix. Now I said, well, this thing is a 3-dimensional quadrature, so I plotted it in 3-dimensional space. I came up with this diagram. Here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4 vectors. Would you believe, out of the 7 vectors, if you pick 3 of them for ENP, which they're pretty well known which ones they are, the other 4 fall 1 in each quadrant. The chance of that happening is only 1 chance in 23, all things considered. That's significant at the p equals 0.05 level. So that was the first proof that I found that yes, the structural model is caused by the cubic structure of the brain. Now these diagonals, these factors, all of these 13 factors in here turn out, they're personality types, they turn out to be the gods. They were first identified way before science ever existed. They were, see, this is Anubis, this is Thoth, this is Horus, I don't know who this is. And this is Seth, and this is Thoth. The ancient Egyptians recognized with their own bare eyes that there were 13 different personality types. And then the Greeks took them over and renamed them, and then the Romans took them over. The Greeks called them the 12 Olympian gods. They said there were 12. They were off by 1, there's 13. And then the Romans took them over. So anyway, this is a scientific proof that yes, the god. Now, you know, Cicero in 50 BC wrote a famous book called De Natura Deorum in the Latin, which means On the Nature of the Gods. And Cicero, one of the most educated guys, he was emperor of Rome at one point, general of an army and a famous orator. And he and Caesar both died in the Civil War, 50 BC. But anyway, he said, I don't know what the gods are. He said, I don't know whether they're invisible, whether they're real, or what they do, or where they are, and blah, blah, blah. So he would be delighted to know that the gods are personality types, and they were discovered by the Egyptians. And you notice this is in the modern day. They're Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Porky Pig. But anyway, in 50 BC, they identified it. Today, do the gods exist? Well, now we know it's a scientific fact. They do exist. They come from the quadrature of the brain, and I discovered that and published it in the peer-reviewed literature. So anyway, I'm going to knock this thing off. I suppose the soundtrack has stopped running, and I'm going to test first whether or not this pause button is working. Now, if you see this thing flash across the screen in the movie, we'll know it worked. Okay, I'm going to hit. Then I hit pause again. So in the movie, you'll see that red arrow suddenly snap from here to there. So that means the pause button was working. Okay, because I've been having trouble with this. You know, we're running up 39, 40%. I finally got the CPU beat down to about 40% where everything works. If it goes 60, 70, 80%, you get things stop working. Okay, now I'm going to hit the F10 button and record this thing.